and welcome back to the ZZ Podcast. I'm joined with Adam.
Hello.
He has joined me all the way from wherever his dwellings are, all the way to wherever these dwellings are. All to do this review and nothing else. Just for this. He's going straight home afterwards. That's all he's here for, it's just this review. You better feel lucky.
I spent a whole day travelling.
Just for this. And he'll be spending another day going home. All for me.
Thank you.
What are we doing today, Adam?
Today we are talking about films, and not just any films. We are talking about sequels, prequels, and trilogies.
That's fucking right. Sequels, prequels, and remakes.
And remakes.
Is actually the topic we're talking about today. And anyone who's been watching the podcast for a while is probably shaking in their boots now because... Well, probably not, because it's out. If they're watching this, then the podcast made it out.
Right.
But, a little bit of context? A little bit of context. This podcast topic is cursed. This podcast topic of sequels, prequels and remakes was meant to be episode 4. And then it was also meant to be episode 7 when episode 4 was scrapped, the original episode 4. Episode 7 was a shambles, so we scrapped that one too. We re-attempted it, or myself and Joe re-attempted it, for podcast episode 15 or 16. That flopped. And then we attempted it again for episode 26. Didn't work. So here we are for the 5th attempt of this podcast topic.
Let's go, shall we?
So if you're seeing this, we did it. Also, the camera's slanted, I've just noticed. So vamp for a second here. Vamp.
So, as you can tell, I am sat here in my amazing, nice shirt. I think I got this from Marks and Spencer's. The t-shirt's from Nest, the trousers are from H&M, and the Converses are from Online. Did I vamp right?
Online! You did.
Online.
You vamped great, thank you. But yeah, we're talking about what makes a good sequel and a bad sequel, what makes a good and bad prequel, and what makes a remake. We're talking about all of that stuff. It's still slanted. Vamp again.
Oh my god. So the watch I got from Amazon, the glasses, they say Ted Baker.
Is down the shitter. Cool. It's not slanted anymore, I think. Let's go. This will be when I realise that it's out of focus. It's good because we've looked at the teething issues early in the podcast, which means it won't be scrapped later.
Yeah.
Like I say, if you're watching this, then the Sequels, Prequels and Remakes podcast is finally out. After all these years. When I mean years, genuinely, the first time I attempted this podcast topic was 2019.
Wow.
This is like a closure moment if this actually happens. In before this footage gets corrupted in the editing. Which happens to me. One of the times.
So we need you guys to just quickly pray for us that this gets...
This makes it out. Alright, what do you consider like the perfect archetype for like a great movie sequel?
A great movie sequel for me is the kind of film where it acknowledges everything that's happened in the original film. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need to do any more backstory delving in. If there's a little bit of expansion needed, then dwell on that for only a little bit. Don't detract from the whole story. And certainly don't repeat any tropes, themes. Don't discontinue anything. Don't pretend something didn't happen when it did, even if it was shit. Mm-hmm. You know, basically, it's meant to be a continuation. It's not a rewrite. It's not a distraction. It's just picking up from where you left.
Effectively, you've got to respect what came before.
Exactly.
A great sequel that comes to mind as like I love the first and the second equally is Deadpool.
Yes.
A great sequel. One that I'm hoping becomes like when Deadpool 3 comes out, completes the holy trilogy. Like it joins the Hall of Fame of the best movie trilogies of all time, next to the Cornetto trilogy and the Planet of the Apes remakes and How to Train Your Dragons and stuff. I hope that it's going to be that good. But yeah, what's a good sequel? How many good sequels can you think of?
Can The Dark Knight count as one?
Yeah, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Dawn of the Planet, yes.
Really good sequel. Toy Story 2. All of the Toy Stories are great.
Godfather Part 2.
I've not seen it.
No?
No, not seen it. What's a bad sequel? X-Men 2.
Well, actually, it did better than X-Men 3.
Great sequel, Shrek 2.
Yes.
Better than the original.
Yes.
That's the sign of a good sequel. It's Shrek 2. Basically, to be a good sequel, you've got to be Shrek 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. What about prequel?
A good prequel would be, it's got to achieve something. So what is it there to detail? Is it setting up the world? Is it setting up how a hero or a villain started out?
Mm-hmm.
Is it about... So... I mean, you're not a big fan of this trilogy, for example, but the prequel trilogy of The Hobbit in relation to Lord of the Rings is basically detailing
I'm not a fan.
Bilbo's story.
Right,
you know?
yeah. They could have done that in one film.
They could have done that in one film.
That's why I don't really like it.
But just the fact that it's got a specific thing in mind, it's Bilbo's story and how he came across the ring, that's what they serve really to do. A good prequel otherwise would be... Well, put it this way, Prometheus in my mind wasn't.
But Covenant was. That's a good point. Covenant is technically a prequel to the original. Wow, yeah. Covenant is a great prequel. Damn. Well, there you go. More you know. Also, talking about Star Wars real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The actual prequel trilogy, hit and miss.
Episode 3, one of my all-time favourite films. But that's probably the only saving grace.
Yeah, but a really good Star Wars prequel, Rogue One.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that one.
Right, yeah, that counts.
Prequel to the original, yes.
Even though it takes place
a couple months.
Yeah,
a few days.
Minutes, because it starts with Darth Vader in the hallway, right?
No, it ends with Darth Vader in the hallway.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So it starts a couple days before A New Hope, but
it ends literally right when New Hope starts.
A good prequel series, though, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Have you seen that yet? I like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, he's my favourite Jedi, but the series is also quite good because that one deals with. Actually, it's kind of like a sequel to the prequel trilogy, and it's a prequel to his sequel appearances as well. It's like that middle ground where he's coming out from his fight with Anakin, and he's thinking that he's got to prepare his son Luke for what's to come, but he's kind of getting a bit overworked up about it. He's losing his connection to Qui-Gon, and then he's got that shock of realising Anakin's still alive.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of that bit of his realisation that Anakin is not only alive, but he's not actually his own mistake, you know, because I don't want to spoil that for you.
But yeah, no, I get what you mean though. Prequels have to tread very lightly because, especially if it's like a good original movies like Lord of the Rings, I'll speak freely here, and I know you'll be grinding your teeth all the way through, but the original Lord of the Rings trilogy is amazing, and the prequels come along and they just kind of basically. So I know the prequel trilogy are by fucking what's his name? The same person who does the originals. We know his name.
It's
the same.
Not James Cameron.
I don't know, but basically he makes a really, really good sandbox in. Well, he didn't write it. It was J.R. Tolkien, but he made the original trilogy of Lord of the Rings amazing. Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. And then he comes along and does those prequels, trampling all over what was so special about those films, and kind of just. Yeah, when you look at behind the scenes of the prequels, you realise that they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't have much of a script. It's based on a child's book that couldn't even really been stretched to one feature-length film, really, if they kept faithful to the source material.
Wasn't the original animated Hobbit film just a single film?
I believe so. Might have been. I'm not sure. I've not seen it, so probably. But yeah, like prequels need to be very careful what they do because they're.
They can't reveal too much from the original film, otherwise it spoils it. Yeah. They can't. They can't kind of.
It's a lot harder to be a good prequel.
Yeah, they can't undo it. Here's something that I didn't like. It's an example in the MCU where in The Winter Soldier, Nick Fury makes a comment where he says, "Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye." And in the comics, you have all these different kind of backstories where it's his brother that takes his eye out, it's Winter Soldier that takes his eye out. Oh, yes. Yeah. But then you get to Captain Marvel, which is him before S.H.I.E.L.D. is officially started.
Yeah, yeah.
And he loses an eye because he was playing with a cat.
Yep. That's
I
agree with that.
That's an example of a shit prequel idea.
I really do agree with that. That is 1,000,000% dumb. Let's talk about the MCU for a bit, shall we? Because that thing is a cesspool of prequels and sequels of itself, really.
Yeah.
Like,
the Infinity Saga is mainly just fixed on, well, you would say...
getting to Endgame, really.
Yeah.
That's its goal. But it's so interwoven that in my notes that I've been referring to just now, I don't have individual sequels for, like, Iron Man 2 or Far From Home, or like, it's because it's all part of the MCU, and the MCU is one big melting pot.
And by the time you get to
that stuff, you know,
by the time you get to Tom Holland's Spider-Man trilogy, it's not even really his own film, because he's bouncing off of what happened in Civil War with Iron Man, and then Far From Home is bouncing off of the Infinity War storyline and Endgame because he's lost Iron Man, and then No Way Home, it's... Well, that's coming straight off of Far From Home.
It's closer, but it's still like, oh, here's a nostalgia fest. Here's Tom Holland, but none of his stuff in it. You have all of this other stuff from previous Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah.
So it does, it feels a bit misguided, his trilogy. I'm not saying they're bad films, I'm saying they're pretty decent films, actually. Those three films are like some of the better films in the MCU.
Yes.
I liked No Way Home, and I'm not allowed to say that I didn't, so I do. But, yeah, it's just one of those things. But there are some genuinely good bangers in the MCU, like Guardians of the Galaxy. Both of those films are amazing, and I cannot wait for part 3.
I think I preferred the first one to the second. Just a little bit
I
more.
always flip-flop between them. Much like the Deadpool films. One day I like Deadpool 1 more, next day I like Deadpool 2. Much like with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
With the main 3 Avenger trilogy, not as in Avengers 1, Avengers 2, but in terms of Iron Man's 3, Cap's 3 and Thor's 3.
Yeah.
I think Iron Man had the best first film, Cap had the best second film, and
true.
Thor had the best third film.
What was Cap's second film? Winter Soldier?
Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Hard agree.
Yeah. I love Civil War, love that one, but if, comparing it in terms of a third run to Thor Ragnarok, I'm afraid that one kind of wins it.
Yeah, I do agree with that one. I was 1,000%. And Thor 4.
Well, I won't spoil too much on how I felt about that. But it's the first time.
It's a stinker.
It's the first time since I watched Thor out of context with anything else that I switched the film off in the first 20 minutes.
I saw it at the cinema. I watched through the whole thing. The only reason I did though is because that's a good soundtrack. You have Dio in there and Guns N' Roses, so I was happy. I was entertained.
Of course.
Even if it was just for the music. But Chris Hemsworth, he's not the best actor. And when he gets given a shit script, he's just kind of, the cracks start to form, He's not a bad one. He's just plays the same sort of roles, Yeah. It's one of those things. But the script is dreadful. The film was a parody of itself, and bad sequel. That's what we're saying basically. I'd take Dark World over fucking, what was it, Love and Thunder? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Thunder, yeah.
Don't like it very much at all. But the MCU, like I say, it's turning into, especially now, like a whole, because franchising and like sequels and all that, it's just becoming a big TV show. You got to keep up to date with, otherwise you don't know what's happening. Like the first time I realised it is when I watched the Doctor Strange sequel, and I thought to myself, wait, why is Wanda suddenly evil? That doesn't make sense. And apparently there's more insight into why she does that in the TV show. Yeah. And so I thought to myself, fucking hell, why do I suddenly need to do homework to enjoy an MCU film now? You know what I mean? It's just that's when I know it's getting too bad.
And especially with all the series coming up on Disney Plus. Not many people can go to Disney Plus like they can go to the cinema.
No, that's right.
And so...
Have you watched any of the TV shows?
I saw WandaVision, I saw Loki, I saw a bit of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah. Didn't want to touch She-Hulk.
Fair enough. I've heard very bad things about them.
I mean, I saw the trailer with her twerking, and it's enough.
Well, there you go. That's enough. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
I watched some of Loki.
The What If series.
Oh,
that's pretty good. I love that one.
I was going to mention I watched the zombie episode.
Yes.
Of What If, and really enjoyed that one. But yeah, one thing I want to talk about before don't want to talk about the MCU too much because it's beating a dead horse. So everyone knows that it sucks now. Not that it sucked before. Infinity Saga is still solid. It's still an achievement. Everything from Iron Man 1 to Endgame, for the most part, is all solid. It all leads to an end, and it's important. Yeah. It's not been done before. It was clever, but I would have liked it if they just ended it with Endgame. Because now they're just doing it because it worked before, you know, rather than doing something new. But what was I getting to originally? I've completely forgotten.
You were going to bounce off of it. Whilst you're thinking of that, I'll say this though, that in terms of world building and making films that have to link in with stuff, there's been a lot of dead copycats, haven't there? The DC tried their hand at it with some joining films, and they're kind of doing it still now.
No, they're wrapping that shit up. Yeah. James Gunn has taken the reins for the extended universe now, and he's rebooting everything and recasting everyone. I'm hopeful though. His Suicide Squad film was fucking excellent, and Guardians of the Galaxy. So he has a knack for like adapting comic book superhero stuff really well. Yeah. So I have hope for his universe, but with the DC universe, you have a lot of Aquamans and the Wonder Woman Part 2 and the Dawn of Justice, and it's like... I don't know about that one, Chief.
Then there was also the Universal monster movie universe with Tom Cruise and the Mummy, which it's basically trying to do what Brendan Fraser, was he the original The Mummy Returns?
I don't know.
Well, basically they tried to do a whole reboot of that. They had a girl Mummy, they had Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Really?
Tom Cruise basically took over as this demon-possessed mummy kind of guy. I don't know, he stabbed himself with a magic dagger.
Right, cool. Cool stuff, man.
Yeah, and it was no wonder that it flopped. It was shit.
Yeah. There are other, like, loosely connected universes out there, like...
The Conjuring.
Yeah, The Conjuring. Also Cloverfield. I've seen most of The Conjurings. We watched the first one last night. Pretty good. Really good. I don't remember the second one very well, but I did watch it years and years ago.
The one with the nun, Valak.
Right, yeah, that's it. And then I also saw The Nun as well, and I think I've seen all 3 Annabelle films as well. I don't remember the first one very well, though.
No, Annabelle 1 was probably the sloppiest Conjuring film. Annabelle
2 was really good.
Annabelle Creation was brilliant. Yeah,
I really liked that one.
Yeah,
that one was really creepy.
And then Annabelle comes home when she's making a muck of the Warrens.
That was okay.
Trophy room, as it were.
Yeah, I didn't like that one as much. It was still okay though, but you know.
La Llorona. I love the fairy tale. No, she's not a fairy tale. I love the folklore of La Llorona. The film I thought was alright. A few kind of cheap scares, but ultimately it's still a sad story, to be honest. But the opening of that film, the opening is quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know the story of La Llorona? Right. I'll show him the intro in a minute.
Alright, cool. Cool stuff, yeah. So, what else then? So, Cloverfield.
Yes.
Strange one. 10 Cloverfield Lane was one of my favourite films, but it has an original film called Cloverfield and then the Cloverfield Paradox. Fucking strange. They seemingly have nothing to do with each other, but they also do. The Cloverfield Paradox, not seen it, but apparently it links them 3 together. But there's a ton of other sci-fi movies out there that also were meant to be Cloverfield films, but then were changed at the last minute. Like, I think A Quiet Place was going to be one of them, and that's as far as my list goes.
Do you know it's a zombie film, Overlord?
Not seen it.
No, it's basically some troopers stuck in World War II. That
was going to be...
Yeah, that one was going to be Cloverfield Overlord.
Wow, crazy.
And then there's no monster, it's just
zombies.
The 100-Year Reich, they called it.
Oh, no aliens then?
Nope, just zombies.
That's weird. I wonder why they would have done that. Maybe that's why they didn't do that. They changed it last minute. We've talked a bit about Star Trek. Should we talk a tiny bit more about it?
Star Wars we talked about. We can talk about Trek.
Star Wars first. Okay. Then we'll move on to Star Trek. Meant to say Star Wars. Yeah, the original trilogy is great. Talk about good fucking sequels. Fucking Empire Strikes Back is the film name I was looking for in my head. And then Return of the Jedi is also great. It was originally titled Revenge of the Jedi, by the way.
Because originally Luke was going to turn, wasn't he?
Was he?
That's
didn't
why.
know that.
That's why he wears all that black, and then his last shot when he defies Palpatine, the reveal of light.
Yeah, that's. Damn, yeah, I didn't think about that. That's really cool. That's a really cool feat. I never knew that. Okay, cool. No, and then talking of prequels, what do you think of the Star Wars prequels?
I love Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
It's the best one.
Best fighting stuff, and of course you're only there for Anakin's downfall and Order 66. Episode 1, if you took out the fight between Qui-Gon, Obi and Maul...
And Jar Jar.
You'd have no need for that film.
Yeah.
Episode 2, filler.
Yeah,
you know, it's just a load of things.
A bit of
Attack of the Clones. The clones are only fighting in the last 5 minutes of the damn film.
Yeah.
So
that's
that.
that's dumb.
But then Revenge of the Sith happened. Just probably was the only kind of thing where everything in that film made sense to see it.
Yeah. The third one's solid. The other two are not.
No.
As for the sequels,
can we not talk about the sequels, please?
Why not?
Because they're shit. The Force Awakens is all right.
There you go.
But the last
was looking
two,
for that. Thank you.
No.
I mean, Force Awakens was my first Star Wars film I ever saw. Yeah. I was late to the party, but saw it in cinema, fucking loved the shit out of it, so I went back and watched the original trilogy. I'm like, shit, I might be a Star Wars fan after all. And then The Last Jedi came out, I'm like...
Yeah, that's what most of us reacted like.
Well, what are these prequels like? I'm going to go back to prequels, watch them, I'm like... Maybe I'm not a Star Wars fan. Maybe the final one will be good. Rise of Skywalker.
No.
Emptiness. That's all that film is. That was literally my Star Wars journey.
Yeah.
Fell in love with Force Awakens. Last Jedi, I was like, I don't know, chief. And then the final one was like, oh.
The ending of Episode 9 is
I
probably...
would take Last Jedi over Rise of Skywalker though. 1,000,000 times over.
Marginally.
A million times over. For me, at least. Yeah.
But the ending of Episode 9 is probably up there with one of the worst film endings or show endings or just any kind of idea in general.
It's just really stupid.
Yeah. There's only
the whole thing is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
You see, it pays. If you're gonna make a fucking mini arc in a few movies, plan it first. When you made Force Awakens, plan Palpatine from the start so he doesn't seem so ham-fisted at the end. Or maybe, just don't do it. Just think of something new.
You could have done so much more with Snoke.
Like, Snoke. What happened to him? Nothing, apparently. Yeah, that pissed me off.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of Star Wars.
Thank you.
Star Trek is a big rabbit hole of stuff that we could talk for hours about, or at least I could. But we won't.
I've only ever seen the second film, actually. Because I heard that Benedict Cumberbatch did a good performance.
Oh, you mean the new ones? I'm talking about everything.
Oh, right.
Like, there were 12 old films, I think 12, 10 or 12 old films. Like, Wrath of Khan is amazing, that's a sequel, technically. First Contact is amazing as well. It pays to be a good franchise, I guess. But there's this common little rule in Star Trek where it's like, every odd-numbered Star Trek film is shit. And I kind of agree with that, to be honest. It's not far from the truth.
I've seen a YouTuber who pulled a joke like that. Almost as hilarious as Star Trek 5. We don't speak of the odd-numbered Star Trek movies. And that's weird, because it seems like all you ever do is talk.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. That's the rule. But I think the Star Trek reboot sequels are really good too. I like the first one, second one is amazing, and the third one's solid. So there you go. And also TV shows. There's a fucking plethora of content for Star Trek. That's why I choose Star Trek over Star Wars, just by the sheer amount of content I have. Whereas Star Wars, you just have the movies, and then you have the animated spin-offs, but it's like spin-off shows. But I don't want to delve into those really. One kind of thing where a film took inspiration from a TV show, which I love the show, it's one of my favourite cartoons. It's Avatar The Last Airbender. And the 3 seasons of that show, I mean, it's kind of like how I mentioned Star Wars The Clone Wars with you, where the first series, you kind of get used to it because it's a kid's show, so it's got to be a bit more playful and a bit ludicrous. The second series, the middle point, that's where things start to get a little more mature, where they're starting to dip their toes in things which are a bit more older. And then the third season, that's when full development, that's when everything comes full circle round, and I love it. The film, M. Night Shyamalan, what the fuck? What did you do? What
Why?
did you do to the beloved show?
He couldn't even get the name right. It went from Ang to Ong.
Yeah.
Ong. Like a seagull. Ong. Mine. Sorry, I'm rambling.
Oh, I hate that film. It's one of my least favourites. I really don't like it. Yeah, what's another like adaptation remake that's bad?
Oh god.
I'll tell you what, it's great.
Many of the video game films.
Got a good one for you. Last of Us.
Well, yes, that's a series as well. It's got time to flush everything out and it's swimming around. And even though it's not a full kind of translation because they changed the origin of the infection, didn't they?
Only because in the game you have gas masks to hide from the spores, whereas in the show you can't really show emotion on actors' faces if there are gas masks on half the time.
Yeah.
So they swap them out to being tendrils instead, so that you don't need to rely on gas masks for their fucking survival.
But aside from that I've only seen trailers and one
so
or
I think
two
it's a
scenes.
necessary change.
It looks
So
brilliant.
good. It's so good. It's ended now, but my god, what a great fucking season. I had such a blast. Every episode is a banger.
Oh, another kind of series sequel, kind of prequel thing.
Yes.
Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon.
Yes. Okay. I at one time in my life when I'm feeling like it, I will talk about everything that Game of Thrones took from me when season 8 came out. But what has happened since then is me finding new love for the world of Westeros in television. House of the Dragon season 1 was good. I thought it wouldn't be. I refused to watch it for so long because of how badly season 8 let me down of Thrones. It broke me. And so I vowed to never return to Thrones. But House of Dragon came out and I eventually caved and I watched it, and the first episode I'm like, I suppose it's okay. And then by the end I'm like, oh, give me season 2. Genuinely. In the span of 10 episodes I went from reluctantly, somewhat, I suppose. And then by the end, like I say, I was frothing at the mouth for more. Because it was, good so far. And really good so far.
I feel like on the similar vein,
I'm willing to admit it.
I can't tell if this would be sequels but it's a lot of spin-offs definitely from this universe. I mean, where else can we mention this one? Doctor Who. You've got Torchwood, and you've got Sarah Jane Adventures. I mean, the only one that I really didn't like was Class. It had one or two good moments, but apart from that,
I would have liked to have seen a season 2 because they seemed like they were setting up a lot, like the Weeping Angels coming back, and also that girl being that creature at the end.
Yes.
There was a cliffhanger. I would have liked to have seen what they did with that, but I guess that's what didn't happen.
Yeah.
There are a couple solid episodes in there. I'm not going to go and say it's the worst thing ever, but it really missed the mark. Whereas Torchwood and Sarah Jane Adventures had a lot of essential elements that made it immediately feel like Doctor Who. Like Torchwood had Cardiff Bay, it had Captain Jack, it had a cyber woman at one stage, it had a few crossover villains, and same with Sarah Jane, with it being
Martha,
her attic and K9, and like you say, Martha popped in for a couple episodes, and meanwhile, obviously in Sarah Jane Adventures you have K9 for some of it. And then also the Slitheen, and those spin-offs still feel like Doctor Who, so yeah.
But then Doctor Who, in a sense, it's kind of like a reboot, but it's not because they keep changing the actor, and it's changing his or her, attitude, the dynamic.
It's like a sequel to the last thing. Isn't
it? Cool. And so it doesn't feel like it's always the same character.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's true. I think we've reached the half an hour mark. Actually, I think we have. Yeah, we have actually. Wow, bang on. So we're going to wrap up this first half of the podcast here for you guys, and we will return after these adverts.
All right.
See you there. Sorry. Cool.
Hi there. Have you got a problem that you can't fix? Is everything around you just falling down? You got a problem that you can't quite keep it up? You want me to help you fix that?
Yeah, sure. Why not? How much do you want for all of it?
Brace for the future!
Oh, sorry. I thought you were a drug dealer.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I'm not sleeping tonight. Right, and welcome back from that commercial break. Amazon review of the week. What do we got today?
We have the microwave for one.
Exciting.
Michael says, "It used to be that I got home from work and the only thing I'd want to put in my mouth was the cold barrel of my grandfather's shotgun. Then I discovered Sonia Allison's chicken tetrazzini. And now there are two things."
Beautiful.
I do try.
Thank you for that lovely review. Cool. Right. What is next on the docket for sequels, prequels, and remakes?
Well, there's one classic trilogy that we hadn't mentioned just yet, kind of hitching on the end of the sci-fi train. Terminator. Good sequel in the middle. Not as
there's
good
way
as...
more than 3 of them though.
Well,
there?
yeah.
There's like
But,
millions. It feels like now. I mean, the original trilogy.
So we had the first 3. We had Salvation.
Yeah.
Then we
did.
had the reboot in 2014. I
I think that was Terminator Genesis.
Yeah, Genesis.
And then Dark Fate was after that, and there might be one more afterwards. I don't remember.
Yes.
But yeah, the first 2 are amazing. The first 2 Terminator films are fucking amazing. Third one is not my cup of tea, but I hear that some people like it, and good for them. I'm not one of them.
No.
And then the Salvation.
That's the one with Christian Bale.
Yeah, I have fond memories of that one, watching it, but going back to it, it's not a very good film. But it's like a guilty pleasure of mine, probably. I know that it's not very good, but I still find enjoyment from it. And then I think Genesis is the same story for me, but Dark Fate, I couldn't finish it, so I don't know. It's one of those weird ones for me. I don't know.
Do we continue then with one of the lead roles? Who's the lady that played Sarah Connors in the original Sarah Connors?
I don't know.
No, because they keep bringing her back for all the sequels. In the
Really?
same way,
Oh yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah, in the same way that they bring back
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
not I'm thinking Halloween now.
Oh yeah, Mike Myers.
Yeah,
They keep bringing him back.
Who's the lady, the one that has the shotgun and everything? But yeah, they keep bringing back the leading lady, as it were, to take them down because they're the only ones that can.
Yeah. Halloween. What an interesting franchise. It was what? I'm going to restart my brain and try that again. So, the Halloween movie franchise was originally meant to be an anthology series. Every single film featured a different monster and a different threat and a different set of characters to fight the threat. But the first one was such a success for Mike Myers that Halloween is the one with Mike Myers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That they decided, no, we'll make a second one and we'll bookend his story. Cool. That's why the third one is set in a completely different thing. No Mike Myers, no existing characters. Yeah. And then when they realised that one flopped, they were like, shit, they want more Mike Myers. So the fourth one, all the way to the present, all have also Mike Myers in. So, yeah, that's why. Fun fact for you. It would have been cool if they did like an anthology. Every single movie has a different plot and different villain. Definitely would have liked that.
Slight side note, one of the better anthologies for Halloween, Trick or Treat, a 2007 film with the little short guy in the burlap sack hat and his yellow orange lollipop.
No, I've not seen that.
I'd watch it. It's very interesting.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, definitely not seen that. So that's... How many films are there of that?
It's just one, but it's got... there's 5 stories. There's girls doing a dress-up night. There's a bunch of kids doing pranks. There's an old man who doesn't like Halloween. There's a guy who is feeding his gluttonous child.
Right.
And then you have 1 or 2 other side characters as well.
Okay. Fair enough. Sounds fun. Speaking of horror films, Friday 13th.
Oh.
The
first
how interesting. The first one doesn't even feature Jason. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Sorry.
The first one's great. Second one is great. And then the rest, fucking... I don't know what happened. It's like Jason X is just fucking bonkers. Freddy versus Jason is strange as well. And
Jason bringing the bacon.
Yep, Jason killing Kevin Bacon. Because that's what happened in the first one. Do you get it?
Yeah.
I made a reference. But It's another interesting one where they just kind of milked it because it sold when people knew it.
They milked both of them so much they had a crossover for it.
Yeah. Speaking of Elm Street, first one is one of the best horror films ever. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. But the rest... No.
It went from being scary nightmares to wacky nightmares.
Yeah, it just became a parody of itself, and I didn't know. No thanks, I'm alright, thank you very much. The Thing, I think I mentioned it on this one.
Not yet.
No. I love The Thing. The remake by John... I'm having a stroke.
Reboot.
Oh, there we go, I'm back. Yeah, The Thing is amazing by John Carpenter. That's the remake of it, though. People don't realise that the one that everyone knows and loves is a remake of an original. So, but it's great. I love it.
And that, I only figured this out a short while ago. How the whole film could have been spoiled, and the team could have been saved had somebody learnt Norwegic or whatever the language is that guy speaks when they're trying to catch the dog.
Yeah, that would have been good. But then there'd be no movie.
Nah.
So. Speaking of horror films, Woman in Black, a bad sequel, is Woman in Black 2. Ruins the first one, almost, in my opinion. The first one's really good, the second one is crap. Have you seen the second one?
Yes, I have. The only scene I like in that one is the bit when they're all taking shelter in the bomb shelter bit at the bottom. They're all linking hands, and then the really snobby lady looks back behind her, and there she is.
Ooh, fair enough. I haven't seen that one in so long. I've seen the first one a lot, but that's because it's good.
It's one of those ones where you know it's frightening, but you love to watch it still.
Yeah, that's a great way to sum it up, actually.
Another horror film trilogy that I know of, and I was describing this to you earlier, it's called Hell House.
Right.
And the idea is that it used to be a hotel owned by a guy who would also lead a cult. And anybody who stayed a night in Hell's House never left.
Right.
Because they would eventually either be sacrificed or join this cult.
Oh, interesting.
And in the first film, it's a bunch of people who kind of go in there and they think they can turn it into a dramatization of what's happening, and one by one they all die.
Right.
The second film, people are breaking in for a seance so they can speak to the people who did it before. And in the third film, there's a guy who thinks he can make a whole show, an immersive theatre, out of that one.
Right.
And the gimmick is Hell House's owner, the guy who started the cult, he has a way... It's kind of similar to... Have you ever seen Grave Encounters?
I've not seen Grave Encounters, no.
So it's similar to that, where they both have an institution which has a mind of its own, and it almost encourages... It finds a way to encourage people on the outside to come to it.
Oh,
because
okay.
It's like a sentient hunger where it needs more people to eat off of.
Right, okay. Oh, interesting stuff, actually, yeah.
Grave Encounters is also a good one where it has a so-so sequel. I like it. I don't know if other people really do or don't.
No.
But the first film, really good. And the ending on that one, frightening.
Oh, fair enough.
Oh, I could have put that on my list.
Favourite movies.
Yeah.
There's still time. But yeah, Scream, another horror movie franchise that kind of got milked a little bit.
It started off as a semi-parody, didn't it?
It did. Very self-aware.
That's it, yeah.
But it didn't go as mad and bonkers as a Scary Movie, though.
No.
So there's that.
I think I'll twist my leg now, breaking my foot. Ah!
There you go. That's better. I've not seen Scary Movie in so long, but what an interesting bunch of films those were. But Scream was good. Scream 2, I don't really remember very well, but now they've got, what, 5, 6, 7? They released one recently, didn't they?
Number 8.
Number 8?
I think it's number 8.
Number 8?
Might be.
Okay, no, they've got 8 of them? Bloody hell. They're working fast.
No, not 8, sorry, 6.
Yeah, but they brought back a bunch of old actors from the first one or something, and they're riding off of the sort of high of like, oh, let's rely on the audience's nostalgia and make them buy tickets because they remember the good times.
Yeah.
Like the No Way Home fever, basically, where they brought back all the Spider-Man. And Jurassic Park did it as well, with Dominion.
Yeah.
They brought back all sorts of people. I think everyone managed to.
Jurassic World is one where it has a lovely sequel, but then the ending of the trilogy, dog shit. I hated it.
Right. We're talking about Jurassic Park, not Jurassic World.
Yes, the original trilogy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Jurassic World, I like the first film.
That's
I do.
Right. Yeah.
But then by the time you get to Fallen Kingdom, it's cherry picking at that point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Although to be fair, that opening, and I'm glad in the sense that they didn't have this moment when I went to go see it in cinema.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's a deleted moment where as the two goons who have just cut off the bone of the Indominus are backing out, and in the original cut you see that the mosasaur is behind them with its jaws open. But then there's an extra little cut that they took out where the nervous guy looks behind him, and then in the reflection you see the eye of the mosasaur kind of coming into view.
Oh.
And it's in the trailer. They have it in the trailer.
That's pretty cool.
And I'm glad they didn't have it in cinema because I think I'd have shit myself.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's talk about good sequels. Great sequels. Here's a great sequel. Puss in Boots' Last Wish.
Yes!
Puss in Boots' Last Wish.
I love that one.
Miles and leagues ahead of the first one. Watched it recently. Animation style is great. Story's actually sublime.
Wonderful choice of cast.
Yeah, very much so.
I love how they redesigned things like the Three Bears, which is kind of ironic as well, given what happened to one of the bears in the first film.
Yeah, what happened in the first film?
Well, in the original, in Shrek, the Three Bears get captured, and then when all the fairy tale creatures are hiding in Shrek's swamp, you only see Papa Bear and Baby Bear. Where's Mummy? And then you cut to Lord Farquaad. You know that infamous scene where he's got a boner under his duvet? Mummy Bear's on the floor.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh.
If you watch it back, you see her on the floor.
That is horrid.
That is horrid.
That is fucking horrid. Oh no, that is mad. You know?
But don't worry, Olivia Colman plays her again in the Puss in Boots 2.
Oh good. Oh good.
Yeah.
That's much better.
I love how they changed the bears into gangsters, into the
British gangsters. They're talking like this.
Or shut up, yeah. Or put you from top of the scooter.
All right.
I didn't know that there was so much swearing, the bleeped out stuff from Perito.
Oh yeah, the dog. That was shit. Oh, that was so funny. Yeah. That shit was the funniest part in the whole film. But
talking about his backstory as well, though.
Yeah, that's sad. It was such a good
film. But one of the best standouts in that film, definitely the wolf.
Yeah, very much so. I really, really love the wolf. Actually, really, really good villain. What else? What's another really good sequel?
The How to Train Your Dragon trilogy.
Oh god, yes, really, really good stuff. Much like the Deadpools, you could ask me any day of the week and it would be a different answer as to which one of those is my favourite because I can't decide.
That's a beautiful sign of a progressive story where each film has like a year or two between them, where they've gotten used to it and how people have now started to embrace dragons and it's their kind of designed to keep things in their favour. And then in the third film, most people are alright with them, but then you got people who are either hunting them to trade or to make a trophy out of them. And so that then encourages them to hide the dragons. And so then it gives that element that it's actually in our world, just in the past.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's very true. And I love that. I think that those three films are so good. Yeah, I love them to pieces, to be honest.
Another quality children's trilogy, Kung Fu Panda.
Right, yeah.
I love the Kung Fu Panda films.
I've only seen the first one, so I can't really comment much.
I love another standout, the villains in all of them. Tai Lung is a wonderful story of that tragedy and that misleading and, expecting something when it actually isn't yours. Shen, Kung Fu Panda 2, top tier villain for me.
Right.
Because he's got a tie into Poe's backstory and it's also, he's kind of another sense of fallen pride and he doesn't quite understand that his own actions are his own downfall. A sense of yin and yang, which is prevalent as well because Poe's a panda. And then you got Kai, who doesn't quite have as much of relevance to him compared to, say, Tai Lung or Shen, but he's prevalent and he's just a dominant force. He's taken out all these other masters in the world and he's basically there to just suck out Poe's chi. And it fits to him though because pandas in this world are kind of like this Kingsman of chi of sorts. Kingsman, a good sequel.
Kingsman, there we go. That's another really, really good one. Kingsman 2 is great. I love them both. They're both really, really good films. Yeah. What else?
The Bond films.
Oh. Bond films. They aren't technically sequels. They're a franchise, but
it's similar to Doctor Who, where it's a new actor that takes it on, and it's slightly different. Not a rewrite, but just carries it on in a different direction.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but then suddenly they kill him off in No Time to Die, which is interesting.
But then you could almost argue then that because Daniel Craig's first film was like its own origin story, that maybe Daniel Craig's Bond was just his own thing.
Yeah, true.
And then whoever takes him up next carries on from the film before Casino Royale.
Yeah, maybe. Interesting. Never thought about it that way. I'm intrigued to see who the next Bond.
I don't think they've announced it yet.
No, they've fucking taken a while. Everyone wants Idris Elba, and everyone's like, he's too old. Shut up. Stop it. He would have been good, but he's too old for it now. I think he even said that in an interview. Yeah. But yeah, Planet of the Apes. Yes. I want to talk about that real quick. A perfect trilogy. There are a lot of those knocking about in the world. Lord of the Rings, Planet of the Apes, the Cornetto trilogy, House of the New Dragon, The Dark Knight. There's more, but those are the main ones for me. Yeah, I love it. It's so good, so good. Yeah, cool stuff. Oh. What else?
Another kind of kids one, Ice Age. It's the first 3 films, beautiful.
The 4th,
and then the 5th.
Exactly. You understand.
Monsters Inc. and Monsters University.
A great sequel. Technically a prequel. Monsters Uni. I love Monsters Uni. There's such a good message to it as well.
Because he doesn't just start, it's not like an underdog where he wins it at the end.
No.
You know, he comes into what he is
he
good
realises what he's good at, yeah, it's a great message. It's a great film. I love Monsters Uni.
But Monsters Inc., I mean, for me personally, you can't beat the original.
No.
Because that one is, it's just a fun time, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There's also, there were a ton of those like sequels that were coming out around that time that were like finally doing a follow-up to a film that came out years before, like The Incredibles.
Matrix.
Incredibles, I was going to say, but yeah, Matrix, yeah, and what was the other one? That was another one. Finding Nemo.
Yes,
Finding Nemo. They did a ton of those sequels from like 10 years ago.
The Disney remakes, the live-action ones.
Ugh.
I mean,
I watched The Jungle Book and it ruined the original for me.
I liked that Jungle Book one. I wasn't actually too big a fan of Mowgli.
Never seen it.
Mowgli
was the Netflix one, wasn't it?
The Andy Serkis one.
Right.
Where everything was a little grittier.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. That one was fucking weird. I don't like that one.
Neither of them really were faithful to the original animation, but
definitely
I prefer the lighter nature.
True, me too, but it still weren't very good.
Nah, yeah.
But the Lion King remake, I didn't watch. I didn't watch the live action Dumbo, just because I didn't want to ruin the original for myself.
And now they're under hot fire with 3 controversies as well, because Mulan came under fire 2020 because of Mulan. They basically just repurposed Mulan because they made it into a SJW kind of thing. The Little Mermaid came under scrutiny because of the trailer, how the mermaid, the lady playing Halle Berry, is I think she's mixed racial, or I think she's black.
Okay.
It's one of those two, but basically she doesn't look like the original cartoon. And similar in a sense now to the Snow White, where the lead is also not Snow White.
No. Well, that's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Why is that scrutiny a thing that happens these days? It doesn't make sense to me.
No.
But
I mean, it's one thing when people want things to be faithful, but then
it's another thing just kind of being
hate,
a dickhead.
Yeah.
Just hate speech, really, isn't it? Some of it.
Lara Croft is another kind of reboot thing where every so often a new actor kind of comes in and oh god, never seems to find its footing, that one.
No, really?
No. I mean, after Angelina Jolie left it, I mean, there was that one where it's what's it? I think she's Michael Fassbender's wife.
Right.
She did that film 2017 based off of the video game.
Okay.
And everything that made the video game fun, it was watered down because it was meant to be a kids' film as well.
That's fair.
We couldn't really do much of that one.
What about the Uncharted? The Tom Holland. Did you end up watching that one? No.
I saw a chunk of it, and it's no. I mean,
No?
the guy who originally is it Troy Baker who played him originally? Troy Baker.
I don't remember, to be honest. It might have been.
He actually had a cameo in that film as well. He was on the beach.
Troy Baker was Joel Miller from Last of Us.
Yes.
In the game, but I don't know if he did.
I think it's a different guy actually. But basically, whoever played him in the video games has got all the charm. And Tom, bless him, he's a cool actor. I love what he does, but he I don't think he had
the part.
He looked the part, but he didn't fit the part.
No, it's
kind of like a case of when you ask for something and it's you don't really understand why.
Don't understand the assignment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I don't know. Like, so in a perfect world, what's a standalone film that you think could make a sequel that hasn't yet? Wait, no, before that, the Joker fucking sequel. That's coming out. What do you fucking think about that? It's meant to be like a musical with Harley Quinn.
On the other hand, I actually wish it didn't have a sequel. I like the idea that, sometimes a film doesn't need a sequel. Sometimes films just need to be that.
If Whiplash had a sequel, it would be bad. If 1917 had a sequel, it would be bad. If The Lighthouse had a sequel, it would be bad. You don't have to do a sequel. They're fine on their own sometimes. Leave them.
If I ever became a director, I would only ever make one sequel every 10 or so years.
Yeah.
I'd want to keep things original, and if I don't have an original idea, I'm not making a film.
Exactly. That's it. That's literally it. It's just I always have a hard time getting into sequels by default because sequels to me just feel like cash grabs by default. They feel like, oh, the last one did so well, let's make another. So if you're going to make like an extended story over more than one movie, then make it into a TV show. Why? Yeah. That's my takeaway from it personally, but yeah, I don't know. Do you want to wrap it up there?
Yeah.
Awesome. No worries. Hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. This has been us talking about sequels, prequels, and remakes for a little while. We didn't talk about remakes. No, we did. We did talk about remakes. Wait, I wanted to talk about the Halloween remake. Last thoughts. Really, really good. The Rob Zombie ones. I love the Rob Zombie remakes of Halloween, and I wanted to talk about that real quick. But there you go. All done. Cool. Anything left to say?
Thank you for having me on the podcast.
No worries. No worries. My pleasure. My pleasure. There you go. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
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 And goodbye.
And a bon voyage to you. No?
No.
Alright, I'm out. I'm getting my train.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Cool.
I never left.
Except you're leaving now.
Aww.
I'm bad. Everything done.
You won't find any drugs in here, Batman.